Today, we're gonna go over 3 movement concepts that will instantly improve your dancing. These ideas are simple to understand, but I have found that it is often the simplest ideas that can have the most profound effect on the way that we do things, especially when it comes to dance. So let's just hop into it. So this first movement concept that we're going to talk about today is this idea of utilizing our posture to make our movement more effective. Now, when it comes to any dance style, I think it's pretty easy to observe that there is a certain posture or poise that typically the dancers or the practicers of that style will hold, whether they're dancing or kind of just going about their day-to-day lives. And when it comes to things like hip-hop or street dance, there's no exception. Over the years, I've become increasingly more convinced of focusing not simply just on the step or the thing that I'm doing when I dance, but also on how I'm carrying myself while I'm doing that step. What's going on in the rest of my body? How am I approaching this thing that I'm doing? How am I approaching this step? In the same way that a ballet dancer would not approach a class in baggy clothes, all hunched over. When we approach styles like hip hop or street dance, I think it's extremely important to think about how we can cultivate an authentic posture, or a posture that is authentic to the style that we are practicing. And one of the reasons that I feel that this is really important is because I feel that when we think about this idea of trying to cultivate an authentic posture, I think it helps us to further integrate ourselves into our dance and into the style that we are trying to practice. It becomes more authentic and original to us when we actually place our body into that position, or we try to cultivate that specific look within our posture. I also feel that our posture, or the way that we hold ourselves when we're dancing, really changes our approach to the way that we dance. For example, if I were to approach a hip hop class in tight pants and flip-flops, then I probably wouldn't have as authentic of a look as someone who were to show up in some baggy pants and some tennis shoes. Or let's say I were to approach a hip hop class with the same technique that someone would if they were gonna do Irish step or some sort of river dance. There's simply a different posture and a different approach to each style that I feel that if we are able to harness, I feel that it'll help us to cultivate a more authentic practice within our own dance style. Now, I'd say that it's pretty common knowledge that the posture that we maintain and hold within hip hop is a very grounded, very rooted position, one that allows us to have a lot of easy access to our weight and where it's being held, and also that allows us to change or to transfer our weight at a minute's notice. So when it comes to hip hop and cultivating a posture that is authentic to the style, I think if we can allow ourselves to find this sort of relaxed and rooted posture with our body as we're dancing, as opposed to lots of tension and being super straight up with everything, it'll make whatever we're doing, no matter what it is, look more authentic. Let's say we're doing a kickball change. There's a huge difference between doing a kickball change with this posture and with this posture. So thinking about this idea of how our posture influences our practice within dance, and how changing our posture can change the tone or the intention or the approach to our movement is super valuable. This is one reason that I feel that it is super beneficial for those who practice hip hop dance to dive into other aspects of the culture of hip hop. There are influences, ideas, and aesthetics that can be pulled from and observed that I think will help us to formulate a better understanding of what it means to cultivate a posture that is authentic to hip hop. Sometimes we may be doing a step that's not even necessarily exclusive to hip hop dance. What can make it authentic or make it look hip hop though is our approach or our posture while we're performing the step. And so I really feel that that's the most important concept when it comes to this idea. Whether we like it or not, our posture has an effect on the way that we are perceived and also on the way that our movement is perceived. So how can we, knowing that, utilize concepts like our posture to communicate a more authentic and holistic understanding of the dance style that goes deeper than simply what the pattern of our feet is or where we're placing our arms in space, you know? Where is that coming from? So thinking about things like how you carry yourself, how you dress, your approach, and simply the way that you hold and shift your weight is enormously important and can have a profound effect on the way that you dance and on the way that your movement is perceived by others. So that was our first concept. And now our second movement concept, we briefly touched on this in the last one, is to think about this concept of weight placement or controlling our weight. This is an important concept when it comes to any dance style. Hip hop is no exception. There's lots of weight shifts and changes and footwork within this dance style. So the ability to control your weight is a crucial concept. Controlling your weight can have an effect on things like your balance, your timing, your sequencing, how you move in between steps, and just really the overall structure and look of your dance. I really feel that learning to control where you place your weight when you're dancing, especially when it comes to hip hop, is one of the most valuable lessons that you can learn. Really diving deep into this idea has allowed me to cultivate more control and more freedom of exploration within my own movement. This is kind of going back to that idea of posture, but a lot of times when people say stuff like, in hip hop, you gotta stand like this. You need to maintain bad posture when you're dancing hip hop. What they're really getting at is, one, that idea that we talked about in our first concept of approaching your movement with an authentic posture that helps you to communicate your intention, but also they're touching on this idea of where our weight is falling. Within hip hop, it's pretty typical to find this super wide, grounded, almost forward weight placement. We're not standing straight up and down with our legs right under our shoulders. We have a wide base and our chest is closer to the ground than it normally would be if we were standing straight up and down. When it comes to hip hop, this idea of being rooted, grounded, and connected to the floor is a key idea. It not only changes the look of your movement, but it also changes the practicality of what it actually means for your body to move in and through these positions, right? It's way easier to explore all this footwork and to change your weight placement when you are more connected and in closer proximity to the ground. If I'm standing up straight and walking with my legs fully extended, my range is already limited. In order to have more range, I have to bend my knees and get closer to the floor. Unless I'm going to find a position like this, which here I have no control. I'm really kind of just stuck here unless I really shift. And even if I do that, I can't do that quickly. And so the only way that you can really maintain your speed and your range when you're playing around with different foot placement concepts or different footwork patterns is to get deeper into this bend with your legs and to bring the rest of your body closer to what's happening down here. Thinking about this concept of your body working as a whole, as opposed to thinking your upper body is separate from what's happening in your lower body, right? Like when I do a kickball change, I'm not thinking just my feet are moving, right? I'm trying to think, how is the rest of my body being integrated into this step? How can I utilize the rest of my body to accentuate the effect that I'm trying to create with my feet? And I think a big part of that is learning to build this cohesive relationship between the upper and lower body by limiting the range or the space that's between your upper and lower body. And a big part of cultivating that relationship is learning how to explore and change your weight placement. Whether you're playing around with a codified step like a kickball change, or you're simply exploring changing your weight placement while you play around with the foundational concept, your weight placement is key to not only your ability to shift and change between different positions, but also in your pursuit of further cultivating this relationship between your upper and lower body. Within styles like ballet, a lot of times we're trying to find that separation from the lower and upper body. We utilize the whole body to work together, but the style is more so focused on trying to find that separation. How far can you reach your toe? How long of a line can you create with your arm? Within hip hop, it's a little bit different. While we still explore ideas like our range and how far we can go with things, it's not about creating the longest line possible. It's about creating and exploring different angles and positioning with your body that helps you to better communicate what you want to say. And a lot of that comes from our ability to manipulate our weight placement. The ideas and the concepts that we explore within hip hop are greatly dependent on where our weight is resting. And so learning to manipulate and form better control over your weight and where it's being placed is going to be super valuable and make it a lot easier to explore these different concepts that we explore when we're dancing hip hop. So that's our second movement concept. And then our third and final movement concept is to think about this idea of our energy and our effort. Now, when it comes to dance in general, but I found this especially to be true of hip hop, simply doing things bigger or with more energy does not equal them looking better or more like they're supposed to. Let me show you what I mean. Sometimes, whether you're doing choreography or freestyling, whenever you're trying to make something look impressive, it's easy to fall into this idea of, oh, if I just do it bigger and do it harder, it'll look better. And while there is something to be said for putting in a certain level of effort while you're dancing and not just doing it lazily, I think if we can learn how to instead harness our effort and learn how to control where we're placing our effort within our movement, it's always more effective than simply just throwing things harder and bigger. It feels like the right thing to do, but it's not actually going to communicate what we want it to communicate. So thinking about this idea of control when it comes to our energy and our effort is going to be super key. The ability to control not only your exertion of effort, but also your perceived exertion of effort is a game changer when it comes to dance. Now, what I'm not saying is that you never have to just dance a little bit harder. Like sometimes what the choreography is calling for is for you to just boom, really hit something, or to really just go for it as hard as you can. And for some choreographers, that's more so the look that they go for. When it comes to me though, and my personal style, and what I feel is most authentic to hip hop, it's less about going at 100% all the time, and more so about learning how the fluctuations of our effort within our dance inform or change the effect that our dance or our movement carries when people watch us. So let's say we were to do a step like this. Kick, step, look. Now we could do this one of two ways. We could either kick, step, look, and make it super big and make everything the same level. Kick, step, look. Or we could do it like this. Kick, step, look. Now what I'm not saying is that either execution of this step is necessarily wrong or right. But what I am saying though is that utilizing different exertions of energy has a different effect on the step that we're doing, or in other words, on our movement and how we execute it. So let's say you are doing a routine that is a little bit more hype and has a little bit more energy and explosiveness to it. Instead of just thinking, okay, I'm just gonna go, 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 go at 100 the whole time, which will get flat, how can you think about utilizing less energy in certain moments when you're dancing that will accentuate those moments that have more energy or that require more effort? It's like the difference between a train that just goes straight on level ground and a roller coaster that dives down and climbs up, dives down and comes up. We want our dance to feel like a roller coaster rather than like a train. And so I think it's bad to both go at 100 all the time, but also to go at 20% all the time. After a while, within both of those, there's a flatness. And I think that learning to utilize different exertions of effort and to manipulate how we utilize our effort, I think will add dynamic and also keep our dance looking interesting. There's more of a storyline to it. There's a progression to it, as opposed to just being one tone the entire time. You take the audience or whoever's watching you on a journey or a progression as they watch you dance. When it comes to executing movement, let's say a step like a kick, step, look, it could simply be the difference between simply just doing the step and thinking a little bit more critically about all the different components that are moving and how you can utilize each body part to communicate something specific about the step that you're doing. How am I utilizing my head to accentuate the step that I'm doing? If I'm doing a kick, step, look, what is my head doing? Should I just go kick, step, look? Or kick, step, whip my head? Again, not saying that necessarily one is right or wrong, but it's all about the effect that you're trying to create with your dance. And learning to manipulate your effort and the energy that you put into a movement will 100% give your dance more dynamic and also just demonstrate a level of control and mastery of your movement that doesn't just equate to, I know a step and I can do it. It's also, I know a step and I know how to do it and how to manipulate this step in a specific way to add new flavor or to communicate a different tone with my movement. Sometimes taking a little bit softer of an approach with our movement is more effective. And sometimes being super big and explosive with our movement is just as effective. And so I think it's all about learning about what's being called for within your movement on a moment-to-moment basis. Not just looking at your movement as one thing or as one level of energy, but thinking about how you can utilize your energy as an asset and as a tool rather than just as something that needs to be expelled constantly. And that is going to be our third and final movement concept that we're going to be talking about in this video. I know that diving deeper into these concepts will greatly improve or influence the way that you dance. And I know this because once I started to think about these concepts and to really try to implement them into my personal practice, it changed the how of my dancing. A lot of us have the what. We know the vocabulary or the basic concepts within a given dance style, but I think sometimes what can get lost is the how behind the what. We all have the same what, the same material to pull from, and I think a huge part of a dancer's individuality is exploring the how you do the what. Hopefully that makes sense. It's like everybody has the same coloring page, we all have the same design to fill out, but we all have different colored pencils, markers, or crayons that we can fill in that stencil with. And I think exploring these three concepts for yourself will really help you to better cultivate not only a more effective dance style, but also a style that is more unique to you and who you are as an individual. Anyways, I wanna thank you guys so much for your time in watching this video. If you guys would like me to dive deeper into any of these concepts, feel free to comment down below. I feel like we could have a whole video on each of these concepts individually. So if that would be helpful for you guys, be sure to let me know. Check out The Shed on Instagram, TikTok, and also on Patreon. We've got our first post up on there and I'm super excited about it. There's definitely more to come in the coming months. So just feel free to check it out over there, see what's going on. Join as a free member. You can learn my full choreography routine to music by Eric Sermon. Go ahead and join as a free member so that you'll be the first ones that are notified when something new drops over there. I want to thank you guys again for all your support and for taking your time to watch this video. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace out.